All right, 214.337 on-track safety procedures for lone workers. A lone worker who follows the track performing the routine inspection or minor correction may use an individual train detection to establish on-track only was permitted by the section on-track safety program on the railroad. A lone worker relations to the absolute right on the track safety procedure other than individual train detection if he or she determines it is necessary to occupy the place safety until each other form on the on-track safety can be established. See, individual train detection may be used to establish on-track safety only by a lone worker who has been trained, qualified, designated to do so by the employer in accordance with the statute 214.347. While the performance routine inspection minor correction workplace on the track outside the limits of the manual interlocking controlled point of the remotely controlled hump yard facility. For the lone worker's ability, the visibility to detect and approach the train moving at the maximum speed authorized on the track and move to the previously determined pace of safety not less than 16 to 15 seconds before the train would arrive at the location of the lone worker. Where there are no power-operated tools, roadway machines are and within hearing of the lone worker. The ability of the lone worker to hear an approaching of the train or on the other equipment is not impaired by the background noise, lights, precipitation, fog, or passing trains or any other physical conditions. The place of safety is occupied by the lone worker and approaching for the train not be on track unless the working limits are established on that track. A lone worker used of individually trained detection on safety while the following of the track may occupy the position engaging in any activity that the worker interfere with the worker's ability to maintain the vigilant work and detect the approach of the train moving in either direction as prescribed in the section. A lone worker who is individually trained detection to establish the tracking safety shall first complete an individual statement of on-track safety. The statement of the shall designate the limits of the track of which is prepared and the date of the time and from which it is valid. The statement shall show the maximum authorized speed of the train within the limits of which it is prepared and the sign of the distance that provides the required warning for the approaching signals. Approaching trains, the lone workers using individual train detection established on the track safety shall produce the statement of on-track safety when requested to represent the railroad administration. 214.339 audible warning of the train. Each railroad shall require that the locomotive whistle be sound and the locomotive be rung, and the trains approaching the roadway workers on and about the track should audible warning shall not substitute on-track safety procedures prescribed in this part. Alright, 214.341 road maintenance machines. Each employer shall include its own on-track safety program specific provisions of the safety and roadway workers. They operate with the work near the roadway maintenance machines. These provisions shall address the training qualifications of operators of the roadway maintenance machines, establishing and issuance safety procedures both for the general application and for the specific type of machines. Communication between the machine operator and the road workers has been assigned to the worker need or the roadway maintenance machines. Spacing between the machines to prevent collision. Spacing between the machines and road workers to prevent personal injury. Maximum working traveling speed machine depending upon the weather and visibility. Stopping capabilities. Instructing for safe operation of the roadway machine shall be provided and maintained within each of the machine large enough to carry the instruction document. No roadway worker shall operate a roadway maintenance machine without having been trained in accordance with the statute 214.355. No roadway worker shall be operated a road maintenance machine without having the knowledge of the safety instruction applicable to the machine. For the purpose of this paragraph, the safety instruction applicable to the machine means the manufacturer instruction manual for the machine. The safety instruction developed to replace the manufacturer safety when the machine has been adapted to specific railroad use, and special instruction shall be addressed in all aspects of safety operation of the crane. It should be as comprehensive as manufacturer safety instructions that they replace. No employer shall assign a roadway worker to near the roadway machines unless the roadway worker has been informed of the safety procedures applicable to the person whom near the roadway machine has acknowledged and full understanding. Components of the roadway maintenance machine shall be kept clear of the train passing adjacent tracks when operating conditions permit the roadway maintenance machine to be less than 4 feet from the track of an adjacent track. On-track safety procedure of the railroad shall include the procedural instructions necessary to provide adequate clearance between the machine and the passing trains. 214.343. No employer shall assign an employee to perform all the duties of the roadway worker. The employee shall accept the assignment unless an employee received training on the on-track safety procedure associated with the assignment to be performed. Employee has been demonstrated the ability to fulfill the responsibilities of on-track safety as required by the individual roadway worker performing the assignment. Each employer shall be to provide to all the roadway workers and its employee initial or recruiting training one of the every calendar year on the track safety rules and procedures that they are required. Railroad employees are often then railroad workers who are associated with on-the-track safety procedures, and they, with primary duties, are concerned with the movement and the protection of the train, shall be trained to perform these functions related on the on-track safety with the training qualification and procedures prescribed by the operating railroad or the primary position of the employee, including maintenance records and frequency of the training. Each employer of the roadway worker shall be maintained written or electronic records of each of the roadway worker qualification, and in fact, each record shall be included with the name of the employee with the type of the qualification made and the most recent date of the qualification. These records should be kept available for the inspection of the photocopying of the Federal Railroad Administration during the regular business hours. 214.345. Training for all roadway workers. Training for all the roadway workers shall include as a minimum the following: recognition of the railroad tracks and understanding of the space around them in which on-track safety is required, the functions and responsibility of various persons involved with on-track safety procedures, proper compliance with on-track safety instructions given on the person performing the responsible for the on-track safety functions. D. Special given with the watchman lookout with the proper procedures upon receiving the train approaching with a warning from a lockout. E. The hazardous association with the working or on the near railroad tracks, including the review of the on-track safety rules and procedures. 214.347. Training and qualification for loan workers. Each loan worker shall be trained and qualified by the employer to establish on-track safety in accordance with the requirements to this section and to be authorized to do so with a railroad that conducts the train operation on those tracks. The train qualification for the loan worker shall include as a minimum consideration of the following factors: determining the approach of the train, the proper movement to the place of the safety upon their approach, determine whether the distance between along the track in which the train must be visible in order to provide the pre-described warning time, rules, procedures prescribed, the railroad individual training, detection, establishment, working limits, definite train location, on-track safety procedures to be used in territory on which employees is qualified and permitted to work alone. Initial and periodic qualification of loan workers shall be evidenced by demonstrated proficiencies. 214.349. Training qualification of watchman lookout. The training qualification for road workers assigned with the duties watchman lookout shall include as a minimum consideration of following factors: detection and recognition of the approaching train, effective warning of the roadway workers of the approaching train, determination of the distance along with the train is which of the trains must be visible in order to provide with the prescribed warning time, rules and procedures of the railroad, use of the training approach warning, initial periodic of a qualification watchman and lookout, and shall be evidenced by demonstrated proficiency. 214.51. Training and qualification of a flagman. The training and qualification for the road workers assigned with the duties flagman should include as a minimum of the content of application of the appropriate operating rules, railroad pertaining to the given proper stopping signals of the track, aids in holding trains clear of working limits. B. Initial periodical qualification of a flagman shall be evidenced by demonstrated proficiency. Alright, 214.353, the training qualification of roadways workers who provide on-track safety of the roadway worker groups. Training qualification of roadway workers who provide their the on-track safety for of the groups of the roadway workers. The establishment of the working limits for the assignment, supervision of the watchmen, lookouts, or flagman shall include as a minimum all on-track safety training of the qualification required for the roadway workers to be supervised with the protected, the content application of the operational rules, railroad pertaining to the establishment of the working limits, the content of the application of the rules railroad pertaining to the establishment of train approaching warning, relevant physical characteristics of the territory of the railroad upon which the road worker is qualified. Initial periodic qualification of road worker is to provide on the track safety for the group shall be evidence of thy record examination. 214.355. Training qualification on-track safety for the operators and road maintenance machines. The training and qualification of a road workers who operate the roadway maintenance machine shall include as a minimum 1. Procedure to prevent a person from being struck by a machine when a machine is in motion or operation. 2. Procedure to prevent any part of the machine from being struck by a train or other equipment on another track. Procedure to provide for the stopping of the machine short of the other machines obstructions on the track, and method to determine safe operation procedure for each of the machine that the operator is expected to operate. Initial periodic qualification of a road worker to operate the roadway maintenance machine shall be evidence of demonstrated proficiency. And 214.357, training qualification for operators of the roadway maintenance machines equipped with a crane, in addition with the general training qualification requirements for the operator of the roadway maintenance machine set forth in Statute 214.341 and 314.355. Of this subpart, each employer shall be adopted and comply with the training and the qualifications program to operate the road maintenance of the machine they equip with the crane to ensure that the safe operation of such a machine. Each employer training and qualification program for the operator of the road maintenance machines equipped with the crane shall require an initial periodic qualification for each of the operator with the road maintenance machine equipped with the crane, and it shall include procedure determining the operator with the skill and the safety operating with each of the machine with the person as authorized to operate, procedure for determining that the operator has knowledge of the safely operate each machine as the person is authorized to operate. Such a procedure shall determine that either the operator has knowledge of the safety instructions, the manufacturer's instruction manual, or applicable to the machine. The operator has the knowledge of the safety instruction developed to replace the manufacturer safety and the instruction when the machine has been adapted to specific railroad use. Such instruction shall be addressed in all aspects of safety operation with the crane and shall be comprehensive as the manufacturer safety instructions they replace. Each employer shall maintain a record of the form of the basis of the training qualification determined that each of the operator of the railroad maintenance machine equipped with the crane is applicable, available to the records. Each employer required to maintain the records under this part shall make all the records available for inspection, copying, photocopying to representatives of the FRA upon request during the normal business hours. Training conducted by an employer in accordance with the operator or qualification certification required in the Department of Labor, Title 29 CFR 1926-1427, may be used to satisfy the training qualification requirements of this section. Subpart D: on-track roadway maintenance machines and high rail vehicles.